joy that God has bestowed in us. We hope that you will come to join us again and again and to worship with us, to grow in Christ and in Orthodox faith. For that, I personally, in the church community, generally welcome you. So this will be our yearly commemoration that we do every year as we celebrate or as we commemorate Black History Month here in the diaspora. We Ethiopian have heard and have learned so many things, have provided so many good things for the diaspora in America, especially and specifically the Black diasporas. This is a word that always resonates in my heart, that when I remember King Haile Selassie I, even though I was born the year that he passed away, this word, when I heard it, whether it is in music or on YouTube or on any social media, it always resonates in me that I will speak it in Amharinya and I'll translate it in English. This is the word I quote from King Haile Selassie I. እኛ አፍሪካውያን ትግላችንን አናቋርጥም። በመጨረሻም መልካም መጥፎን ድል እንደሚነሳ እኛም እንደምናሸንፍ ጥርጥር የለውም። This is his word in the platform of the world's leaders. We, the Africans, he said, King Haile Selassie I, we Africans never stop fighting. In the end, we know and we do not hesitate. Good will overcome evil. With that, as a good nation, as a good people, we Ethiopians have laid so many good things for every nation while we are worshiping and glorifying God in the church. With that, I will first invite our board president, Ato Abel Gashe, to recite us a poem that he wrote, and then to welcome our guest, Ato Abel Gashe. The kids can come up front. If we have a space, they can sit here and listen and learn how Ethiopia and the Ethiopian diaspora have contributed for African Americans here in America and throughout the world, and in for us as an individual. Ato Abel.
ሊቀመንበራን መምህር ዶክተር ዘበነ ለማ, the head administrator of DGMA and the chief executive officer of the Archdiocese of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church in Washington DC and the area, fathers of the church, priests, diaconates, the choirs of Debra, and more importantly, all of you here, the members of our congregation who I consider as the soul of our church. Good morning, everybody. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. We are here today on this special Sunday, coming together to praise Him, to plead with Him to give us the wish of our heart, and also protect us from the evil in this universe. And it is a great honor to be in front of you today when we celebrate this special day that's dedicated for the Black History Month. And when we celebrate the Black History Month, especially for Ethiopians, we come with the spirit of Adwa, where we have the courage, the self-confidence, the spirit of success, and the spirit of victory, which we always carry with us as Ethiopians. Today, we have among us Professor Edom Getachew from Chicago University. We have also invited guests. As always, Debra is a trendsetter that celebrates the Black History Month for the last probably 20 years now. And we have been celebrating this because we recognize the value of African Americans in this country, and more so our part in the history of the black people. As you know, as I mentioned it, the spirit of Adwa, that is an Ethiopian spirit, we carry it with us always, and today we celebrate it with that spirit. Adwa for us is a declaration of freedom. Adwa for us, yes, because of Adwa, the backbone of colonialism is broken once and for all, and because of it, it has become the inspiration for all black people in the world, including African Americans here. Because of Adwa, it's a philosophy that makes the European-centric universe change its dimension, and we consider Adwa to be a paradigm shifter. It's a philosophy of freedom. It is a principle that makes the world tremble again. Because of Adwa, the government of Italy had to change itself. A new government has to be in place because they consider that defeat to be an ultimate defeat, not just on Italy, but also all white colonialists. And it has been, as I said, trendsetter for all of us. Since then, the world considered Ethiopia even different. And in 1906, all European countries come together to sign with Ethiopia as an independent country. Of course, that spirit, we carry it today with us, especially as we celebrate this Black History Month. The Black History Month is a history of Africans, African Americans more importantly, for what they have gone through in this country and for the victories that they have achieved in liberating themselves from slavery and everything else that has been put on them. This, yes, I think it's important that you are there. The significance of this month is to show that Africans, like everyone else in this country, they built this country, and they have rightful place in this country, and their history has to be recognized like all parts of American history. There is no way there will be American history without the history of black Americans in this country. So they deserve their right place in this country. That's what we deserve. Again, three things we need to know about this celebration is: one, it is a recognition of what African Americans have gone through. Two, it is a way for us to show our solidarity with them because we are also Africans now living in this country. So the story of African Americans will also be and it remains to be our history because we are one and the same from the same land. We share that. And one thing that we don't have to forget is the struggle continues. Just about 4 years ago, May 2020, we remember the story of George Floyd, who died after a police put his foot on him for 9 minutes. That is a reflection of what is still persistent in this country about black people. We need to keep fighting. That is what black history signifies. In short, as we celebrate Adwa, we also celebrate Black Africa history. We are part of this history. We remain to be. We continue the spirit of Adwa, the courage, the self-confidence, the victory, the success. That's going to be remaining. In that, I'm going to finalize my speech by reading you a poem that I love, because for me, from Adwa, I draw energy as an Ethiopian, and the world, especially the colored people, should draw that energy. That's what is being exhibited in the world. Adwa hoy hayl hunen, anta Adwa የጥቁር ህዝብ የድል ሸማ የኢትዮጵያውያን የነጻነት ማማ የኢትዮጵያዊነት የነጻነት ማማ የነጭ ጥቢት ማበራያ ባድማ የአፍሪካ ህዝቦች የፍትህ ዜማ በረከት ይድረስልን ባንተ ግባትን ፈውስ የዘመን ደውያችን እንዲለቀን የአንድነት ሁላችን ባንተ ይታደስ ማህበራዊ ሁላችን ተዘባርቆ ጎሰኝነት ቤት ሰርቶብን ባለም መድረክ ስንዋረድ አንዱ ላንዱ እየተካሰስ ህብረ ብሔራዊነታችን ደብዝዞ ስንጠማ ያንተን መንፈስ ሀገራዊ ቀልብ ርቆን የጨረባ ተስካር ስንደግስ በጎጠኝነት አምቡላ ሰክረን በጠብጋኔን ስንረኩስ የታሪክን አሻራ ደብዝዘን በሀገራችን ህልውና ስንገዳደር የኢትዮጵያዊነት ክብር ተቀናቅነን የአባቶችን ትውፊት ስናካስር ቀኝ ገዢዎችን ባዋረድንበት ወንድም ለወንድም ስንቀባበር የዘመነ ረድኤት ጎሎብን ተርበናል ያንተን ድግስ ማንነታችን ተልወሱሶ አስፈልጎናል ያንተ ሞገስ አድዋ ሆይ አንተ ታደገን ከቅሌት መገድ እንመለስ ያንተን ቅኝት እንዘምር ትሩፋትን እናወድስ አንጸባርቀው ለትውልዱ አንተ አፍሪካ ጥቁር ኒሻን ጨለማውን ግፈፍልን ብርሃን ይድረስልን አድዋ ሆይ ድባብህ ይገለጥ በሕያው ስምህ ሕያው አድርገን አንተ አድዋ የታሪክ ፈርጥ የህሉና ማጽኛ መልህቃችን የነጭን ቅስም ያደቀቅንብህ የጣሊያን ቅዠት ማጥንታችን የሮምን ጉራ ኮሾ ያደረክ የነጻነት ሜዳሊያችን ገጸ በረከት ያቀረብነው ለጥቁር ህዝብ ስጦታችን አንተ አድዋ ትንግርት ነህ የሉዓላዊነት ማጣቀሻ ለነጭ ጎልያዶች ምጽአታቸው የአውሮፓ ንቀት መደቆሻ የብሪተኞች መቃብራቸው የትውት ህዝብ የድል በረዋ ለኢትዮጵያ እንቆ ሀብቷ የእግዚአብሔር ጥበቃ መገለጫዋ ተው ተገለጥ አድባራችን አድሩስ ይሽተት ይሰንፍተን ማዕዛ ይድረስ ካጥናፍ አጥናፍ እንላበስ ግርማ ሞገስህን አንተ አድዋ ሆይ ጽሩይ ድላችን የክብራችን አልባሳቱ ለአልቤርቶኒ ሽንፈቱ የሚኒሊክ ሹመቱ የባራቴሪ ቅሌቱ የጥበብ ቀመሯ ለጣይቱ ለአንቶኖሊ ውርደቱ የባልቻባ ነፍሶ ኩራቱ ለቱሪቶ ቅስፈቱ የተክለ ሃይማኖት ስምሪቱ የጁሴፔ ጥቃቱ የመኮንን ሽልማቱ ነህና ህልና መረቆ ዘናችን የቅኝ ገዦች ቅስም መስበሪያችን ይነበብልን መልክዓ አድዋ ይተረክልን ስምሪት ግብርህ ድግስ ኩኖ አምባላጌ በመቀሌ መሟሸትህ በጣይቱ ብጡል ሸማ ሆነህ በሚኒሊክ የተለበስክ ወገግታ ያብራ በላያችን ባለም ይነዛ ታሪክ ገል አንተ አድዋ መነሳንስ የጥቁር ሰው ጥቁር ካባ የዘረኝነት ማርከሻን ቆቆ የነጻነት ማብሰሪያ አበባ እንጣራለን ያንተኑ ቃቤ እንዲወርድ በላያችን ባንተ ወኔ እንድንለኮስ ድንዛዜው እንዲለቀን የሀገራዊ ድባባችን ድንገት ደብዝዞ ዘመን ተሳክሮ ዘመን ወርዝቶ የህዝብነት ሁሉ ጠፍቶ የታሪክ ስንክሳር አረም አውጥቶ ዘራይ ደረስ በተሰዋበት ለሀገሩ ባንዲራ አምቢኝ ብሎ የትውልድ ድብቅ ሲገዳደር ሀገሩን ሲሸጥ በባንዳነት ተማምሎ ሲሸነጉብን ጦር ሲሰብቁ ከቅርብም ከሩቅም ሲጠራሩብን የአባይ መዘዙ አላልቅ ብሎ ባለክ መድረክ ሲዘበትብን እንደ ተልባ ሸተት ስትል ሱዳን ስታጠምድ የጠባሽክላ የትቢት ጥሩምባ ሲነፋብን ትራምፕ ለዶላር ምሱ ሲያደላ ባጎረስን ተነከስን እንድሉ የግብጽ ትቢት እንዳረቄ ሲፈላ ወኔያችንን ኮስትርልን ዛሬም ለኢትዮጵያና እንሳጽዋ የትውልድ ቅርፊት እንዳንባል እርሾ ሆነን አንተ አድዋ እሾ ይሁንብን የምኒልክ አጽም ህሊናችን እንዲወቅሰን ድንዛዜያችን እንዲገፈን የዘመን አሻጋሪ ጮራ ሆነን መልክ ሆነን ለኢትዮጵያዊነት ለጥቁር ህዝብ አብነት እንድንሆን በአንድነት እንድንቆም እንደ ጥንቱ አንተ አድዋ ልቡና ሆነን አንተ አድዋ ጽናት ሆነን አንተ አድዋ ብርሃን ሆነን አንተ አድዋ ኃይል ሆነን ወስብሐት ለእግዚአብሔር
ቃለ ሕይወት ያሰማልን I am grateful for Mr. Abel's poem and welcoming speech. Thank you, our board president and members of our church. One thing I forgot, well, I just have to mention that we have African studies students from Howard University as a guest and celebrate our divine liturgy in our church. I personally and the church generally welcome you. Welcome to our church. I hope you will join us as well in the coming endeavor. Now, I will call upon the kids who are going to present a presentation. Each child will come up front and will present their Black History Month presentation. Come kids. Mano me akarabo. Give them a mic and we will see and follow their presentation. Kids, come over here. ልጆቹን ላክልናል ወንዲ ትናገራለህ እሺ ማይክ ስጥ አሉ ወንዴ የሚናገሩት ልናገር ብሎ ነው ማይኩን ስጠው ጌችዬ ወይ እሺ ንገረን ነይ አንቺ right here come over here Those of you who are presenting, come over here. Those of you who are presenting, come on, Mami. Come on. Why are you sitting? Aren't you a presenter? Yeah. Those of you who have a paper with you who are presenting, come forward. You can face the congregation, not me. There you go. One day.
የደብራችን አስተዳዳሪ ዶክተር ዘበነ አባቶች ካህናት ዲያቆናት እና የደብራችን ሜምበር የሆናችሁት ወንድሞቼና እህቶቼ ዛሬ እንደገና የብላክ ሂስትሪ ማንዝን ምክንያት በማድረግ እንደገና ፕሬዘንት እንድናደርግ ስለተጋበዝን እነዚህ ወጣቶች እፊታችሁ ቀርበው እንደገና ይሄንን ፕሬዘንቴሽን ያደርጋሉ። ኮንሰንትሬት የሚያደርጉት ደግሞ ኢትዮጵያ ያላትን አስተዋጽኦ ከአድዋ እስከ ኦኤዩ ከዛም እስከ ብላክ አፍሪካኒዝም መሪዎቻችን ያደረጉትን ኮንትሪቢዩሽን ላይ ነው። ሁላችሁም በጸጥታ ስሟቸው። እነኚህ ልጆች በጣም ብዙ ተዘጋጅተው ነው የመጡት። እባካችሁ አጨብጭቡላቸው። የመጀመሪያውን ፕሬዘንቴሽን የሚያደርገው ማቴዎስ
Hello, I'm Matthias Joseph and I'm going to be presenting about Ethiopia. Oh, how I long for that day when the darkness and gloom have passed away, because the Son of Righteousness has risen with healing in his hand. This shall be the dawning of a brighter day for the people of Africa. Christianity will usher in a new civilization, and the dark continent will be transformed into a land of commerce and Christian institutions. Then shall Africa take her place as a nation among the nations. Then shall her sons and daughters sing aloud, "Let us arise and shine, for our light has come. The glory of the Lord has risen upon us. May the day speedily come when Ethiopia stretches out her hands unto God." Graham Duncan.
My name is Ileana Getachew, and I will present key points summarized from an article called Ottawa to Black Lives Matter. Ethiopia was like a ray of sunshine in the African community. Ethiopia has spread light in the black nations across the globe. In 1808, merchants from Ethiopia arrived in New York. They attempted to attend church services at the First Baptist Church of New York. While the merchants were there, they experienced racial discrimination that African Americans were facing. In retaliation to the segregation, the African Americans and Ethiopians created their own church in Lower Manhattan and called it Abyssinian Baptist Church. On March 1st, 1896, Italy attempted to colonize Ethiopia, but was badly defeated at the Battle of Ottawa. This became the first African victory against the European power. The victory brought pride to the African American community and was celebrated among them. The anti-colonial fight in Ottawa, resisting European power, is linked to the African American history of resistance. They were inspired by what happened in Ottawa and continued to fight for justice and equality. The events of 1896 had an impact far beyond Ethiopia. The green, yellow, red colors of the Ethiopian flag became the banner for pan-Africanism and a symbol for African resistance. Half a century later, newly independent African states used these colors in their flags. The victory of Ottawa planting new beliefs in Africa and across the Atlantic, where African Americans were being oppressed by Jim Crow laws and white supremacy. Black nationalists got inspired by Ethiopia's struggle against European aggression. The Universal Negro Improvement associated named Ethiopia as the land of our fathers. Therefore, like our grandfathers in Ottawa, we African Americans should stand together in our fight for equality and dignity that we deserve.
Menelik II became Emperor of Ethiopia in 1889. Menelik was crowned King of Kings and Emperor of Ethiopia on November 3rd, 1889 at the Church of Mary on the mountain Toto. After his army defeated Italian forces at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, Ethiopia's independence was recognized by Italy and other European countries that were colonizing Africa. During Menelik's reign, Ethiopia remained independent. Thanks in part of his strategic alliances, success in battle, and Ethiopia's independence also made Menelik a powerful symbol for black and colored people worldwide. Menelik's rule brought advances such as compulsory education, telephones, and the telegram to Ethiopia.
My name is Eliana Bebe, and I'll be talking about Tayetu Betwal. Tayetu Betwal was an Ethiopian noblewoman who, together with her husband Emperor Menelik II, ruled Ethiopia from 1889 to 1913. She is remembered for her resistance against and victory over the Italian colonial forces and her political power at the royal court. She is the one who chose the area of Ethiopia's present-day capital city and named it Addis Ababa. Tayetu Betwal was renowned for her leading role in the war against Italy that culminated in the Battle of Adwa. Tayetu is said to have commanded 5,000 infantry and 600 cavalry in the fight against the Italians, who were trying to colonize Ethiopia. Tayetu was vehemently opposed deals with Italy and the Treaty of Wachale, which effectively made Ethiopia an Italian protectorate on paper. When Menelik and Tayetu finally rode into battle against the Italians, Tayetu played a crucial role in strategizing and leading her troops to the front. She scored a significant victory at an Italian-built fort in Mekelle, where she defeated the Italians by cutting off their water supply.
Hello everyone, my name is Nalawi Tesfa and I'm going to present you about Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman is an especially important woman during slavery days. She freed many slaves during the time of slavery. She has 8 siblings and her parents are Ben Ross and Rick Green. She has one daughter that she adopted named Gertie. Harriet Tubman freed over 300 slaves, which took about 14 years, which was by 1835. In 10 years conducting the Underground Railroad, she has made 19 trips and guided her parents, siblings, relatives, and friends. About half of the African American population of the eastern shore of Maryland was free.
Hi, my name is Nahum Isaias, and I'm going to tell about Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prominent civil rights leader in the United States and well known around the world. He received a doctorate degree from Boston University in 1955 and served as a Baptist minister like his father. Dr. King fought for what was right, and he helped us live like we live today. He said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." One of his greatest speeches, titled "I Have a Dream," remains very powerful and meaningful to people around the world.
Rosa Parks by Samrawit Zacharias. Born February 4th, 1913, Rosa Louise Parks grew up in a dangerous area for black and colored people. When growing up, she was segregated from the white children in any way possible: school, transportation, water, and more. but she decided she was going to change that. On December 1st, 1955, she was riding a bus in the front seats because there were no white people, but soon some white people came to the bus and she was forced to go to the back, but she refused. Because she refused, she was sent to jail, but for 4 days later, she was bailed out. In November 1956, a decision that the bus segregation is unconstitutional under the Equal Clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Rosa Parks died on October 24, 2005, at the age of 92 in Detroit, Michigan.
Good morning. My name is Simon Isaias, and I'll tell you about Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth, or Isabella, was born around the year 1797. She had around 12 siblings. She was sold for the first time when she was 9 years old. Isabella married a man named Thomas. They had 5 children named Diana, Elizabeth, Hannah, Peter, and Sophia. In 1817, a law passed in New York that any enslaved person born before July 4th, 1799, would have to be freed by July 4th, 1827. Soon after she was freed, she went to court to testify for her son's freedom. He had been sold out of state, which was illegal in New York. The judge agreed with her, and her son was free. Isabella became a symbol for equality and freedom. Life is a hard battle anyway. If we laugh and sing a little as we fight the good fight of freedom, it makes it all go easier. I will not allow my life's light to be determined by the darkness around me.
Hello, my name is Matthias Tadessa. I'll be telling you about Emperor Haile Selassie. Emperor Haile Selassie I was born on July 23rd, 1892. On November 2nd, 1930, Rastafari Makonnen became Emperor Haile Selassie. During his long reign, Emperor Haile Selassie emerged as a powerful international figure and a symbol of a proud and independent Africa. Emperor Haile Selassie I was Emperor of Ethiopia from 1930 to 1974. Emperor Haile Selassie attempted to modernize the country through a series of political and social reforms, including the introduction of the 1931 Constitution, its first written constitution, and the abolition of slavery. In May 1963, 32 heads of independent African states met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to sign the charter creating Africa's first post-independence continental institution, the Organization of African Unity. Emperor Haile Selassie was one of the founders of OAU. Emperor Haile Selassie's internationalist views led to Ethiopia becoming a charter member of the United Nations. In 1963, he presided over the formation of the Organization of African Unity, the precursor to the African Union, which he was the first chairman of.
Hello, my name is Matos Tesfa, and I will be presenting about Pan-African advocates. From Adwa to the OAU, Ethiopia remains a beacon of hope for black people as they struggle to regain their freedom around the world. Ethiopian political leaders like Menelik II and Emperor Haile Selassie contributed significantly to this struggle for freedom. Menelik II fought the fascist Italian dictator Mussolini in Adwa, while Emperor Haile Selassie played a pivotal role in convincing many African leaders to establish the OAU. After this organization materialized, the concept of Pan-Africanism grew rapidly. Under the banner of Ethiopia, a resurgence of Pan-Africanism called for the political unity of all peoples of African descent, regardless of nationality, creed, or language. Pan-African advocates include leaders such as Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henri Christophe, François Duvalier, Haïm César, Emperor Haile Selassie, Edward Wilmot Blyden, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Nyerere, Robert Sobukwe, Ahmed Sékou Touré, Kwame Nkrumah, King Sobhuza II, Robert Mugabe, Thomas Sankara, Kwame Ture, Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, Muammar Gaddafi, Walter Rodney, and Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, just to name a few. Thank you for listening to us present about Black History Month and
Xavier Estelin, thank you guys. Give them a hands of applause. What a delightful presentation. Thank you. Not only you, your family, who have dedicated their time and energy to make you able to read eloquently, to present your case for the African diaspora here in the world. May God give you the wisdom, the power, and the love to serve and to worship Him throughout your years. እግዚአብሔር እድሜያችሁን ሁሉ ይባርክላችሁ። ከበሮ አምጡና በመዝሙር ደግሞ ወደሚቀጥለው መርሃ ግብር እንላለን። ላመስግንህ የኔ ጌታ ላመስግንህ ልቀኝልህ የኔ ጌታ ልቀኝልህ ሕይወቴ ነው ዝማሬ ትሩፋቴ የሰጠኸኝ እንዳከብርህ አንተ አባቴ ብለን እንዘምራለን። ግጥሙ ካላችሁ ታውቁታላችሁ። ላመስግንህ የኔ ጌታ እጅ አጣምሮ መቀመጥ አይቻልም። ሁላችሁም በሚጨበጨብበት ሰዓት አጨብጭቡ። ምስጋና ለሚገባው አምላክ ምስጋና ስጡ። ሁላችሁንም ልጆች አትሂዱ። There is a presentation for you guys. Kids, I don't know why you are leaving. Kids, you need to sit down. Kids, okay, who told them to get out? Sit down, please. Kids, all of you are invited to sit down and listen. There is a presentation follows the mezmur that I'm going to present. So sit down, please. ቁጭ በሉ ልጆች። You know, just kids are being kids, I see. And እንደዚህ ነው. We give them one instruction, that's the only thing they listen to. So we told them to present, and then that's time to leave. Which one?
Hey,
ቢሆነኝ መስጠት ባይኖረኝ ከሰጠኸኝ መስጠት አይከብደኝ ጥበቤ ነህ መሰረቴ ዝማሬ ያፈሰስከው በሕይወቴ አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው ለምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው በምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና አመስግኑ የኔ ጌታ አመስግኑ ልቀኝልህ የኔ ጌታ ልቀኝልህ
ሁላችሁ በእጃችሁ ሁላችሁ አንደበቴን የቃኘው ለምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና አንደበቴን የቃኘው ለምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና እንዳከብር አንተ አባቴ
ከምድር ላይ ስትፈጥረኝ ከምስጋና የተለየ ምን ስራ አለኝ? ቀንና ሌት በመቅደስህ እኖራለሁ አምላኬ ሆይ ሳወድስህ
ሁላችሁ አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው በምስጋና አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው በምስጋና በእጃችሁ ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው በምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና የከበረ መሰንቆህን
ዳዊት ስጠኝ ለወጥ በገናህን መዝሙር ቅኔ ተምሬአለሁ ከአባቶቼ ዘምራለሁ።
ሁላችሁ በአንድ ላይ ሁላችሁ በእጃችሁ አንደበቴን የቃኘኸው ለምስጋና ይኸው ውሰድ ቅኝትህን እንደገና አንደበቴን የቃኘው ለምስጋና ይኸው ቅኝትህን እንደገና የኔ ጌታ አመስግን ልቀኝልህ ሕይወቴን ዝማሬ ትሩፋት
ሲዘምሩለት ለእግዚአብሔር እግዚአብሔርን አመስግኑት።
አንተ አባቴ
እግዚአብሔርን አመስግኑት።
ሕይወቴ ነው ዝማሬ ትሩፋት የሰጠኝ እንዳገር እዝራ ስጠኝ የከበረ መሰንቆህን የከበረ መሰንቆ ዳዊት ስጠኝ የሚለውጥ በገና የሁላችሁ ድምፅ ይውጣ። ከአባቶቼ እጅ ከፍ ይበል በእልልታ ሁላችሁ ከፍ ብሎ እጃችሁ አንደበቴን የቃኘው ለምስጋና ይኸው ቅኝትህ እንደገና አንደበቴን የቃኘው ለምስጋና ይኸው ቅኝትህን እንደገና ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ ላመስግን የኔ ጌታ ሕይወቴ ነው ዝማሬ ትሩፋቴ የሰጠኸኝ እንዳከብር አንተ አባቴ ሕይወቴ ነው ዝማሬ ትሩፋቴ የሰጠኸኝ እንዳከብር አንተ አባቴ
እግዚአብሔር ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሁን። ጌታችን የተመሰገነ ይሁን። አምላካችን የተመሰገነ ይሁን። መዝሙር ቅኔ የምናቀርብለት መስዋዕታችንን ይቀበልልን። ኢትዮጵያን ይፈውስልን። ሕዝባችንን በአንድነት ያጽናልን። እግዚአብሔር ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሁን። Now, the main course. እስካሁን የተመገብነው ምንድነው? የምግብ መግቢያውን ነው። የዋናው መርሃ ግብርን መግቢያ በምስጋና በልጆች ዝግጅት ቆይተናል። Now the main presentation will be presented by Dr. ጌታቸው, a professor from Chicago University. It will be, and it is ultimately my delight, and this will be my proudest moment as well, to present you Dr. ጌታቸው, to present us her work. And she is not only a professor, she's a writer. That she wrote a book titled World Making After Empire, The Rise and Fall of Self-Determination. Dr. ጌታቸው. Please welcome her with a round of applause. A young professor from Chicago University. Welcome, ma'am. That will be your pulpit. Thank you.
እንዴት አደራችሁ? በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል እዚህ በመገኘቴ። እግዚአብሔር የተመሰገነ ይሁን እዚህ ላደረሰኝ። Good morning, everybody. I'm honored to be with you celebrating Black History Month. My work focuses on pan-Africanism and has long been interested in the relationship between the history of Black people in the Americas and Africa. And my own personal background has shaped this interest. So I'll start by saying a little bit about myself before getting into the main topic of my discussion, Africa, Ethiopia, Africa, and African America. I was born in Addis Ababa and first left the country at 6 years old when my father came to the United States on a Fulbright. After 1 year here in the United States, we moved to Gaborone, Botswana in southern Africa. While I was growing up there from years 6 to 13, I didn't know it, but Pan-Africanism was part of my neighborhood, part of my everyday. I studied and lived with people from Malawi, from South Africa, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe. And from that experience of growing up with really a Pan-African village, I learned both about what makes us similar and what makes us different. At 13 years old, I came to the United States again and started high school at Washington Lee High School, now renamed Washington Liberty in Arlington, Virginia. There was no Black history offered at that school, as is the case in most public high schools in the United States. But I learned a lot about African American history and the ways in which African American struggles made it possible for me to come to the United States. Without the civil rights struggle, there would not have been the immigration law of 1965, which finally allowed Africans to migrate to the United States. Before 1965, only Europeans and a quota from Latin America could enter this country. So we owe our very presence here to the struggle of Black people. The high school I attended, Washington Liberty, or Washington Lee at the time, would have been a segregated white school, again, until the 1960s. So again, because of those struggles, I was able to attend one of the best public high schools in Northern Virginia. After high school, I went to the University of Virginia and received my BA in Political Science and African American Studies. I continued on to Yale University, where I pursued a PhD in Political Science and African American Studies, and I now teach political science at the University of Chicago. To open the discussion of my topic, Ethiopia, Africa, and African America, also just one second, is there a pointer here? Yes, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so to open this discussion, I want to share two specific anecdotes from my own life. The first comes from my years in Botswana. When I was a student in Botswana, I had a Zambian high school teacher who told the class the history of Ethiopia's symbolism to Africa. But I was very surprised by the reactions of my classmates who felt that, you know, many Ethiopians had actually wanted to differentiate themselves from Africans, didn't want to associate with Africans. So they thought that this history didn't really matter to them because in their own experience, Ethiopians didn't want to be part of the African world. So that's experience number one. The second one comes from when I was doing archival research in the island of Trinidad in the Caribbean. This was in 2013. While I was there, I came to learn that there were many Ethiopian Orthodox churches, 9 in fact, on this very small island. None of the churches were places where Ethiopians actually attended. All the churches were full of Trinidadians who had converted, who had become Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, and who had translated the liturgy and were doing ቅዳሴ just like we do here, but in English. And from them, I learned again about the powerful symbolism, not only of our independence, but also of our religion, of what it meant to have had a Black Christianity, a Christianity that wasn't brought by European domination. So I relay these two stories to you because I think it's important to both recognize the central place of Ethiopia as a model of Black and African independence, but it is equally important to avoid an understanding of Ethiopia as exceptional, as distinct from the African world. We have to see our histories as intertwined and as connected. Can we just change the next slide? I'll say that. Oh, just the one before that one. ከዚህ በፊት ሌላ አለ። Yes. Okay. There's no better place to start the story of Ethiopia's long relationship with the African world then the Battle of Adwa in 1896, and we've already heard a lot about the significance of the battle from the presentations by the children. In fact, we're in the midst of celebrating just the 128th anniversary of Ethiopia's victory over Italian forces. The battle itself happened on March 1st and 2nd of 1896. Many of you will know that this battle emerged because of an unequal treaty, the Treaty of Wuchale from 1889, which was written both in Amharic and Italian. The Italian version declared that the Empire of Abyssinia was in fact a protectorate of Italy. When Minilik II learned about this discrepancy, he renounced the treaty in 1893, leading to war 3 years later. Emperor Minilik and Emperor Taitu raised an army of 100,000 troops, completely overwhelming the Italian forces, who only managed 20,000. Can we go to the next one? Okay. Almost 30 years before the Battle of Adwa in 1868, there was another important battle. This was the British punitive expedition in which Britain sought release of missionaries to subdue the Ethiopian government. The British did manage to lay siege to Emperor Tewodros's empire, but his suicide before captivity would become an important symbol of Ethiopian independence and defiance. No. Oh, there. Okay. Great. Okay. These two, for African Americans, these two wars, the 1868 Anglo-Abyssinian War and the 1896 Battle of Adwa, led to growing knowledge about Ethiopia and an increasing association of the country with Black independence. Before these two wars, there was a philosophy among African Americans known as Ethiopianism. Among African Americans and Africans as well, Ethiopianism drew inspiration from Psalm 68:31, where it's written, "Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God." But Ethiopia here was more a spiritual and metaphorical concept. Ethiopia was all of Africa. Anybody who was Black was understood to be African, was understood to be Ethiopian. So what happens in this context of these two wars is that increasingly Ethiopia comes to be associated with the country in the Horn of Africa. So Ethiopia becomes a very concrete site and space for linking African Americans to a history of African independence. This is a book written by a fellow Ethiopian American scholar, Nadia Nur Hussein, called Black Land, Imperial Ethiopianism and African America, where she talks about how between these two wars, African American newspapers like the Colored American, the Baltimore Afro-American, the Chicago Defender come to cover Ethiopian news very seriously and consistently. Major African American authors, Paul Laurence Dunbar, a poet of the 1890s, Pauline Hopkins, a novelist, come to write poems and novels about Ethiopia. So it becomes a way of attaching themselves to a place of independence, to a site outside of Jim Crow America. But it wouldn't be just the United States where the symbol of Adwa and the symbol of Ethiopian independence comes to be very important. In 1915, in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, colored or Afro-Brazilians, Black Brazilians, started a magazine called O Minilik, named after Minilik. And this journal would be a place again where they published poetry and literature that focused on the Black experience in Brazil, and they covered global Black politics around the world. Actually, currently in Brazil, there's a second Minilik that has been publishing more recently. So a long history. To return again to the United States, in 1919, there was a diplomatic delegation from Ethiopia which arrived to the United States. Again, these papers, the Chicago Defender, Baltimore Afro-American, covered the experience of these diplomatic delegates very, very closely. And they were really surprised by how Ethiopians were treated with respect. They could move around. They weren't actually consigned to the Jim Crow laws of that most African Americans were consigned to at the time. And it creates a major sensation across the country. So in Chicago, the city where I live now, African Americans formed what they called the Star Order of Ethiopia. And in 1920, they have a huge march. They carry the flag of Ethiopia and actually burned the flag of the United States. And formally renounced citizenship, American citizenship, in order to claim Ethiopian citizenship, understood themselves as Abyssinians. So here the so-called Abyssinians are in fact African Americans who have claimed that they are Ethiopians and no longer Americans. But of course, the high point of solidarity and identification with Ethiopia occurs during the Second Italian War and occupation of Ethiopia. This would be in 1935, and it would be a kind of repeat of the 1896 invasion. And this would create a sensation across the black world. So when Kwame Nkrumah, for instance, who would become the first president of Ghana, arrived in London in 1935, he heard news of the new attack on this current attack on Ethiopia. He said he felt as if the world had slapped him in the face, you know, and it would be very important to his own imagination of anti-colonial struggle. There would be protests across the black world, in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in West Africa, in the United Kingdom, standing in solidarity with Ethiopians. And there's two images here. One at the top left is of African Americans volunteering to fight for Ethiopia. And if I could just ask you in the back if you could click that link, which will lead to a video. We'll just watch, it's a 30-second video. Click exit, and then you can see the video. And if you can turn the volume on. I'm not sure if it's audible, but
and if necessary, my life in the cause of Ethiopia.
Then why would you want to go in Ethiopia?
Well, I feel it's my duty to give my profession and, if necessary, my life in the cause of Ethiopia.
Okay, so basically, this is a very rare footage in which there's a series of volunteers who are registering to fight in Ethiopia, and he's asked what is his profession. He says he's a physician. And they ask him, why does he want to go to Ethiopia? And he says he's willing to give not only his profession, but if necessary, his life in the cause of Ethiopian freedom. And this image, the other image on the right, is a very important rally in London at Trafalgar Square, where the Trinidadian pan-Africanist C.L.R. James is addressing a crowd on the fascist invasion of Ethiopia. So far, I've only covered how Ethiopia serves as a symbol and image of black freedom for black people and around the world. And this is a message that also came through in the students' presentations today. But as I said at the beginning, it's really important not to treat Ethiopia as an exceptional or outlier country, to situate Africa, to situate Ethiopia in a wider understanding of African history. And I think there's both a tendency culturally and politically to differentiate Ethiopia from the rest of the black world, but for us it's important to avoid this tendency and situate ourselves and our history in a wider understanding of black history. So that's what I would like to do with the remaining parts of my presentation. So the first is to rethink Adwa itself. So it is true that Adwa is a very, very important, very distinct moment of African triumph and African victory over colonial rule. But it's very important to remember that the Battle of Adwa happens in the context of wider European imperial expansion in Africa, and as a result also of wider African resistance to European powers. So the 19th century is a period in which European traders are moving from the coast. They had trading posts on the coasts of West and Southern Africa for centuries at that point. They're moving towards the interior. They're trying to claim land. There's a very famous conference in 1885 at the Berlin Conference where Europeans carve Africa among themselves. And Italy's incursion into Ethiopia occurs in this context. So there's also, this list generally is about of many different African struggles for independence around the same time. So by the time the Battle of Adwa happens, the Ashanti have engaged in 5 separate wars with the British, the first 4 of which they in fact won or reached a stalemate with the British. In 1879, the Zulu have defeated the British Empire as the British Empire is trying to expand into South Africa. The Mahdist War is an attempt by Sudan to maintain its independence. So when we look at Adwa within this context, we see that Ethiopia is part of a wider African project of trying to maintain its independence. And we happen to be the ones that won, but we weren't the only ones that struggled in this period. Similarly, there is a way that we very importantly emphasize our non-colonial status, that Ethiopia was the only country that didn't succumb to European colonization, except for that brief period between 1935 and 1941. Again, while I think that's a very important part of our history, it's important to note the ways in which we also share a history of racial inequality and hierarchy. That, for instance, I already named the Treaty of Wuchale, but there was a series of unequal treaties that Ethiopia was forced to sign, and that inequality, that structure of making African sovereigns sign unequal treaties was the strategy of colonial rule all over Africa. So it's the same, mechanism that many other states experienced in this period. Similarly, when we entered the League of Nations in 1923, and of course this is Emperor Haile Selassie addressing the League of Nations during the war, we were offered a kind of membership with strings attached. We were allowed in, but we had all these requirements and expectations that were very different from the rest of the members of the League of Nations. And this experience is exactly the experience of Haiti and Liberia, which were also members of the League of Nations at the same time. That status of inequality and hierarchy, which we were subject to, just like other African states and Caribbean states, is what made it possible for Italy to launch its invasion in 1935. And it's also important to note that the first opposition to the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in the League of Nations was actually voiced by the Haitian diplomats in the League of Nations. So they understood that what was happening to Ethiopia was something that had just happened to them. The US had occupied them for 15 years at the time. So again, I think putting ourselves in relation to other African and Caribbean states, we can begin to see how we're more connected than different. My last example will be from the Ethiopian Revolution. This is, of course, 2024 is the 50th anniversary of the Ethiopian Revolution in 1974. The revolution is largely thought to have begun with this Ethiopian students' movements of the late 1960s and early 70s. The kind of growth of the Ethiopian student movement, both in Ethiopia and in the United States and Europe, learned directly from the struggles for freedom around the African world. So Ethiopian students based in the United States who formed the organization Ethiopian Student Union of North America collaborated with the Black Panthers and other Black Power organizations. They invited Stokely Carmichael to their conference and wrote in papers like the Black Panther and Muhammad Speaks, these Black nationalist and Black Power organizations, as a way of borrowing language from the struggle in the United States to make sense of their struggle in Ethiopia, and also to draw solidarity to their cause. Additionally, you can see here down with Yankee imperialism, which was one of the slogans of the students in the period. And this was a way for the students to begin to understand Ethiopia as a neo-colony, as experiencing something similar to the newly independent states of Africa, having a subordinate position vis-a-vis the global powers like the United States. And this argument that Ethiopia was really a neo-colony borrowed very directly from the language of Kwame Nkrumah, who in 1965 coined the term neo-colonialism to make sense of the new experience of African states. So all of this suggests, and I hope has made clear, the importance of understanding Ethiopian history in an African and African diasporic context. The relationship between Ethiopia and the African world is not unidirectional. The story isn't just one of how Ethiopia played a significant role as a model and source of inspiration for struggles for freedom around the world. It is also about how Ethiopia learned from and depended on these very struggles for freedom in its own history and context. So I'll stop there and just thank you very much.
ቃለ ሕይወት ያሰማልን ቃለ ሕይወት ያሰማልን Thank you so much, Dr. Edom Getachew, a professor from Chicago University, for this eloquent presentation about our history and the relationship between us and the rest of African Americans and Africans throughout the world. እግዚአብሔር እድሜሽን ሁሉ ይባርክልሽ ቤተሰብሽን ሁሉ ይባርክልሽ በእውነት እግዚአብሔር እኛ ኢትዮጵያውያን የታደልነን ብለን ስንል በኩራት ብቻ ሳይሆን በትህትና ማንነታችንና ምንነታችን በዓለም ላይ ተገልጾ የዓለም መብራት የዓለም መድኃኒት የዓለም ተስፋ ሆነን እንድንገኝ ነውና ኢትዮጵያውያን ወደ ቀደመ ክብራችን ተመልሰን ወደ ቀደመ ማንነታችን ተመልሰን የሚመለከቱንና የምንመለከታቸውን በደንብ እያስተዋልን ኑሯችንን እንኖር እላለሁ እንዲህ ምንኖር ከሆነ አሁንም ኢትዮጵያ will be the beacon of freedom for every nation እግዚአብሔር ይርዳን ሁላችንንም ሙዳይ ምጽዋት እና ሙዳይ በረከት አሁን ይዞራል ከዛ በፊት ዝማሬ እንዘምራለን ሙዳይ ምጽዋቱ ይቆያልና መዝሙር እንዘምራለን እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማን አለ እስቲ ሁላችሁን ተናገሩ እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማን አለ ማንም የለም እና እልል በሉ አመስግኑ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እያልን እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና ብለን እናመሰግናለን እዛው ባላችሁበት ግን ከናንተ ምፈልገው በተለይ ከወንዶች አይ ነው እኛ ያበሻ ኩራት አለብን እንዴ እጅ አጣምሮ ተቀመጡ ብለን ስላደግን ቤተክርስቲያንን መተን እጃችንን አጣምረን ነው የምንቀመጥ አሁን ፈታ አርጉት ፈታ በሉ ቤቷችሁ ብቻ አይደለም ፈታ ዘና የምትሉ እዚህም ለምዝማሬ ፈታ እጃችሁን አድርጉ፣ አጨብጭቡ፣ እንዘምር፣ እናመስግን። እህቶች በደንብ እየበለጧችሁ እያየው ነውና አንዳንዶቻችሁ ትርኢት የምናቀርብ እየመሰላችሁ ነው መሰለኝ እንዲህ ብላችሁ ነው የምታዩት። የሁላችንም የምስጋና ጊዜ ነው። እናመሰግናለን። እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እንደ እግዚአብሔር ያለ ማንም የለምና እልል በሉ ቁሙ ለምስጋና እልል በሉ ቁሙ
በእጃችን እያጨበጨብን
የእግዚአብሔር ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሁን። እመቤታችን ልመና ጸሎቷ አይለየን። አሁን ሙዳየ ምጽዋት ይዞራል፣ ጸበልም በዚያው ይታደላል። በእውነት ሳላመሰግን ያለፍኩት የዶክተር ኤዶም ወላጆችን ነውና ዶክተር ኤዶም ለወላጆችሽ ክብር ምስጋና ይድረሳቸው። ወላጆቿን እግዚአብሔር ያክብርልን። የወላጆች ከፍታና የወላጆች ደስታ ልጆቻቸው በመረጡት ህይወት ልታሰምሩበት የሚገባው ነው። በመረጡት ህይወት ላይ ከፍ ያለ ማዕረግ ሲያገኙ ከዚህ በላይ የወላጅ ደስታ የለውም። እርግጠኛ የመረጥሽውን መርጠሽ ወላጆችሽ እንደሚደሰቱ አምናለሁ። እኛም በልጆቻችን የምንደሰት እንዲያደርገን እናትሽን ወላጅ አባትሽን እግዚአብሔር ያክብርልን። በእውነት በጣም ደስ የሚያሰኝ ፕሬዘንቴሽን ነው ያቀረብሽልን። ተማሪዎችሽ ደቀ መዛሙርትሽ እንበላቸው እንግዲህ በኢትዮጵያ ቤተክርስቲያን ቋንቋ አንቺን የሚተኩ ካንቺን በላይ ምክንያቱም አንዳንድ ጊዜ ከመምህሩ ደቀ መዝሙሩ የሚባል ንግግር አለ በእኛ ንግግርና አስተማሪዎችም ተማሪዎችሽም ከፍ ብለው በተለይ የሰው ዘርን እኩልነት የነጭና የጥቁር ተከፋፍለን ሳይሆን የሰው ዘርን እኩልነት የሚያውቁና የሚረዱ የሚያስተምሩ መልእክተኞች እንዲያደርግልን እግዚአብሔር ቅዱስ ፈቃዱ ይሁንልን። በጣም ተደስተናል። ልጄ በአጋጣሚ አልመጣችምና በፌስ ታይም እያሳየኋት ነበር። በጣም በሃይ ስኩል ውስጥም የአፍሪካ ተማሪዎች ጓደኞቿ አሏትና በዚያ ቦሳ የሚል የአፍሪካን እንትን አቋቁመው በሃይ ስኩል የሚያደርጉት ነገር አለ። ያ ትልቅ ነገር ነው። በእውነት ደስ የሚያሰኝ ነው። እንደዚህ ሞቲቬት እንደምታደርጊልና ልጆቻችን በተለይ በማንነታቸው ላይ ኩራት እንዲሰማቸው በሚኖሩት ኑሮና በሚያደርጉት በሚመጣው ህይወት ሁሉ ደስተኞች ሙሉ ኮንፊደንስ ሙሉ ዕውቀትና ሙሉ ማንነታቸው ላይ ኩራት እንዲሰማቸው ማድረጊያ ነውና የጥቁርነታችን ዕለት በፌብሩዋሪ ብቻ የሚወሰን ሳይሆን በ365ቱም ቀናት ማንነታችን ላይ እንድንሰራበት ያስፈልጋል። ይሄ መታሰቢያነቱ ለዚህ እንዲሆን ነው። ፌብሩዋሪ ላይ ብቻ ጥቁርነታችንን አስበን ከፌብሩዋሪ በኋላ ያሉትን 9 ወሮች ወይም 11 ወሮች እምንተወው አይደለም። ማንነታችን በየዕለቱ የሚመዘን ነውና ይሄንን እንዳንዘነጋ አሳስባለሁ። ጸበል ይታደላችኋል። ሙዳየ ምጽዋቱ በካሽም በክሬዲት ካርድም የምትሰጡ በመካከላችሁ ይገኛሉ። አሁን የመጣ መልእክት አለ ከመቅዲ ነሽ የሰጠሽኝ አሁን እና እሱን አነባለሁ። እግዚአብሔር ስለ ሁሉም የተመሰገነ ይሁንልን። እሺ ከዛ አንድ መልእክት አለ ከአስመራጭ ኮሚቴው አንዳቸው ይመጡና የሚያቀርቡትን ይነግሩናል። ምክንያቱም ትልቅ የምርጫ ሁኔታም ስላለን ያንን እናደርጋለን። በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን። ስሜን መድኃኔዓለም ያውቀዋል። የተጨነኩበት ነገር ነበረ ስራ በማጣቴ ጸሎቴን መድኃኔዓለም ሰምቶኛል። ስራዬንም አግኝቻለሁ። ለክብሩ መገለጫ 100 ብር አስገብቻለሁ። አሁን ደግሞ በስራዬ ላይ ፈተና ገጥሞኛል። በጸሎት አስቡኝ ብለዋል። እግዚአብሔር በጸሎቱ ያስበው አንዱ ሲደረግ አንዱ ነውና በዚህ መካከል አንድ ስነ ሳልነግራችሁ ማናልፈው ሁሌ በህይወት የሚመላለሳል። በህይወት የሚመላለሰው ነገር ምንድነው ካናችሁ የዳንኤልና የአንበሶቹ ታሪክ ነው። ዳንኤልና አንበሶች ዳንኤል በአንበሳ ጉድጓድ ተጥሎ ታስታውሳላችሁ አይደለም? በአንበሳ ጉድጓድ ውስጥ ተጥሎ ሁሉ ጊዜ የእግዚአብሔርን ማዳን ብቻ የቅዱስ ገብርኤልን እርዳታ ስንመለከት በዚያ በአንበሶች ጉድጓድ ውስጥ ግን የዳንኤል ጸጥታው እንዴት ይደንቃል። አስቡት። በጉድጓድ ውስጥ ነው ያለው። በጉድጓድ ውስጥ አንበሶች አሉ። አንበሶች ዕውቀት የላቸውም፣ ራሽናል የላቸውም። እንደዛ አይነት ምግብ ቀርቦላቸው ላያውቅ ይችላል። ግን እነሱን እግዚአብሔር ጸጥ አድርጓቸዋል። የአንበሶቹ መኖር ግን ዳንኤልን ከጸጥታውና ከእምነቱ አላጎደለውም። ለምን? የሚያድነው እግዚአብሔር ምን ስለሆነ? ታማኝ ስለሆነ። የእግዚአብሔር ታማኝነት አመስግኑት እግዚአብሔርን። የእግዚአብሔር ታማኝነት በአካባቢያችን ከሚፈጠሩና በዙሪያችን ከሚፈጠሩ ነገሮች ሁሉ በላይ ነው። ይሄንን የምታምኑ እግዚአብሔርን አመስግኑት በእውነት። ምክንያቱም በህይወታችን ውስጥ ስራ አገኘን ስንል በስራችን ገጠመኝ፣ ትዳር አገኘን ስንል በትዳራችን ገጠመኝ፣ በዙሪያችን ልጅ አገኘን ስንል በልጃችን ዙሪያ የሚመጡ የተለያዩ ፈተናዎች ሳይሆኑ እኛን የሰጠን፣ ልጆቻችንን የሰጠን፣ ትዳር የሰጠን፣ በዙሪያችን ያለውን ነገር ሁሉ አሳልፎ ለርሱ ለሚገባው ክብር ያዘጋጀን በእምነት ጸጥ ብለን የርሱን ቸርነት በእምነት ጸጥ ብለን የርሱን አዳኝነት እንድንመለከት ያደረገ ነውና በእውነት እንዲህ ስራሽን የሰጠሽ አምላክ የተፈጠረውንም ችግር ፈተና ይፈታልሻል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ይፈታልዎታል ብዬ አስባለሁ። ወንድም ሴትም ይሆኑ እግዚአብሔር ይፍታላቸው እና በእውነት በመካከላችንና በአካባቢያችን የሚፈጠሩት ሳይሆኑ የሚታመነው እግዚአብሔር ለኛ ታላቅ ነው። እመኑት። ይሄንን እግዚአብሔር ታማኝ ነው። መልአኩን ይልካል፣ ያድነናል። ዳንኤልን የሚያዳነው እሱ ነው። ከአንበሶች አፍ ጉድጓድ አወጣ የሚለው እንዲዘምር ያደርገው። ምክንያቱም በዙሪያው ያለውን ጸጥታ አስቦ ነው። በእውነት እግዚአብሔር የተመሰገነ ይሁን። ጸበሉ እየተሰጠ መምህራችን ሊቀ ማእምራን ፕሮፌሰር ዘበነ ቃለ ምዕዳን ቡራኬ ዛሬ በተደረገው ነገር ዝግጅት ሁሉ የአንበሳነቱን ድርሻ ይዘው ይሄ ዝግጅት እንዲዘጋጅ እኛም እንድንሰማው ልጆቻችን እንዲሰሙት መደረጉ ከምንም በላይ ደስ የሚያሰኝ ነው። እንግዶች መጥተው ቤተክርስቲያናችንን አይተው አገልግሎታችንን ተመልክተው ጸበል ጠጥተው መቼስ ሁሉንም ነገር አድርገው በዚህ ተገኝተው መሄዳቸው ሁሉ ለመቀደሳቸው ምክንያት ነውና እግዚአብሔር መምህርን እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልን። ያለውን የመጨረሻውን ምዕዳንና ቡራኬ ማሳሰቢያውንም ይሰጡናል። እሳቸው ከመስጠታቸው በፊት ግን የምርጫ ኮሚቴ ሞት ይርሳኝ ልበል ራሴ አይርሳኝ ግን አቶ ተርላን ይዛሃል። እሺ
በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን። ተወዳጁ መምህራችን እንዲሁም ቀሳውስቱ በሙሉ አባቶቼ፣ እናቶቼ፣ ወንድሞቼ፣ እህቶቼ፣ ልጆቼ ሁሉ እንደምን ከርማችኋል?
እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን።
በጣም ጥሩ። እኔ ከአስመራጭ ኮሚቴ ነው ፊታቸው የቀረብኩት። በ17 ላንበው ይሻላል መሰለኝ። ትንሽ ጊዜ ስጠኝ።
ቴክኖሎጂና ሽማግሌ አንዳንድ ጊዜ ቸጋር ነው።
ማንን ነው ሽማግሌ ልትለው?
እዚህ ላይ አይደለም።
ይቅርታ አድርጉልኝ። የተከበራችሁ የደብረ ገነት መድኃኔዓለም የኢትዮጵያ ኦርቶዶክስ ቤተክርስቲያን አባላት እሁድ መጋቢት 8 ቀን 2016 ዓመተ ምህረት ሰንደይ ማርች 17 2024 አጠቃላይ የአባላት ስብሰባ ይደረጋል። ከቅዳሴ በኋላ የዚህም ስብሰባ ዋናው ዓላማ በአስተዳደር ቦርድ አባላት የሚመረጡበት ጊዜ ስለሆነ በዛ ቀን ሁላችሁም በሰዓቱ እንድትገኙ ጠይቃለን። ይሄንን የላኩላችሁ ከዚህ በፊት ትላንትና ማታም በሬዲዮ ተናግረናል። አሁን ደግሞ ልክ ከዚህ እንዳለቀ ወረቀቱን እንሰጣችኋለን። እያንዳንዳችሁ አባሎች መታችሁ ብትወስዱ ጥሩ ነው። ምክንያቱም ቤተክርስቲያኑም ለስታምፕም ለምናምን አያወጣም። ስለዚህ ወስዳችሁ ይሄንን አይታችሁ በ17 ሁላችሁም ከቅዳሴ በኋላ እንድትገኙ እንጠይቃለን። በጣም በጣም አስፈላጊ ነገር ነው እና አንድ እሱ ነው። ከዛ በኋላ ደግሞ በዛ ቀን ለሚደረገው ነገር ሁሉ በተለይ አባላት ያለባችሁ ውዝፍ ካለ አስቀድማችሁ ክፈሉ። ያንን ካላደረጋችሁ ለመምረጥም አትችሉም። ይህን ታውቃላችሁ። ስለዚህ ካሁኑ ባካችሁን ያንን አድርጉ ብለን እንጠይቃለን። አመሰግናለሁኝ። በ17
ጋሽ ተድላን እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልን፣ እግዚአብሔር ያክብርልን። የአስመራጭ ኮሚቴው መልእክት ሰምተናል። አሁን ወደ ሊቀ ማእምራን ወደ መምህራችን እንሄዳለን። ጸበሉንም እየጠጣችሁ ከሳቸው ቃለ ምዕዳን ቡራኬ በረከት እንሰማለን።
በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሃዱ አምላክ አሜን። እንዴት አደራችሁ?
እግዚአብሔር
አምላካችን እግዚአብሔር ከዘላለም እስከ ዘላለም ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሆንልን። ድምጼ ይሰማል? እሺ። ዛሬ እጅግ ጥሩ ቀን አሳልፈናል። ባለፈው ሳምንትም ብላክ ሂስትሪ መንዝ ላስት ዊክ በጣም ጥሩ ፕሮግራም ነበረን። ልጆቹም ያቀረቡት እንዲደገም ህፃናቱ በተለይ በፓን አፍሪካኒዝም ላይ ያቀረቡት ስለነበረ አጠቃላይ የኢትዮጵያንም ጉዳይ እጅግ ደስ የሚያሰኝ ነበር እና ዛሬም በድጋሚ ያቀርበዋል። እንዴት ነው ያመሰገናችኋቸው ህፃናቱን? ሌላው ደግሞ ከሺካጎ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ለሳባቲካል ስታንፎርድ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ነው የምትገኘው ፕሮፌሰር ኤዶም ጌታቸው ባለፈው ሳምንት ነበር። ሙሉ ሳምንቷ የተያዘ ስለሆነ ዛሬን ትኬቷን ቀይራ ሌላ ሀገር የምትሄድበትን ወደ ካሊፎርኒያ የምትመለስበትን ወደዚህ ቀይራ ነው ዛሬ በመካከላችን ተገኝታ ይሄንን መልካም የሆነ ሌክቸር ፕሬዘንት ያደረገችልን ዶክተር ኤዶም አዋ መስገኑልኝ። እናቷም በመካከላችን ነው የምትገኘው። ወይዘሮ የሴም ወርቅ በመካከላችን ትንገጃለች። እንደዚህ አይነት ጀግና ልጅ ደግሞ ስለወለድሽ እንደዚህ የተባረከች ልጅ ደግሞ ስላለችሽ እግዚአብሔርን በጣም እናመሰግናለን። እግዚአብሔር የተመሰገነ ይሁን። በጣም እናመሰግናለን። እኔ የሴም ወርቅን ስላየው የሴም ወርቅን ብቻ ተናገርኩኝ። አሉ ጌታዬ። እሺ በጣም አባትም አሉና እድሜ ጤና ይስጥልን። መጽሐፏ ቴክስት ቡክ ነውና በየዩኒቨርሲቲው ለተማሪዎች ከሚጠቀሱ መጽሐፍቶች ውስጥ አንዱ መጽሐፍ ነው እና ክላስ ውስጥ አንድ የሷን ጽሁፍ አየንና ዛሬ ክላስሜቶቻችን ከኔ ጋር ያሉ የሃዋርድ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የአፍሪካን ስተዲስ ተማሪዎች የተወሰኑትን እንመለከታለሁ። ስማቸውን ስጠራ እንደው በጣም ከፍ ያለ ምስጋና ለእግዚአብሔር እንድሰጡ ይፈልጋለሁ። ዛሬ እኛን እንዲያዩ የጠራኋቸው አሉ። ፍለፊት የምመለከታት ቺዲ ነች ከናይጄሪያ። ቺዲ አፍሪካን ስተዲስ ሃዋርድ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ተማሪ ነች። ቺዲ አማርቴ ከጋና ነው። ዛጋ አማርቴ አለ ከጋና ነው አማርቴ። ሄለን ጎረቤታችን ነች፣ ቡና እንጣጣለን። ኔግቦርሁድ እዛው ነው ያለችው። ኬንያ ሄለን ከኬንያ ነው የመጣችው። ሌሎች የጋበዝናቸው ደግሞ ብሩስ ጆንሰን አለ። ብሩስ ጆንሰን እሱም እንደዚሁ መጥቷል። ሌላ ስሙን ራሱ የቀየረ ዶኖቫን ሁሉ ጊዜ በመካከላችን ይገኛል። ዶኖቫን ስሙን ቀይሮ አሁን ሚኒሊክ ተብሎ ነው የሚጠራው። ዶኖቫን ሁሉ ጊዜ ከኛ ጋር ያሉ ሚስተር ፍሊክስ፣ ሚስተር ለስ ጆንሰን እነዚህ ሁሉ ከኛ ጋር ያሉ ናቸውና ቺዲ፣ አማርቴ፣ ሄለን ዌልካም ቱ ኢትዮጵያን ኦርቶዶክስ ቸርች ቴንክ ዩ ፎር ዩር ካሚንግ ቱዴይ ወርሺፕ ቱጌዘር ቴንክ ሶ ማች ቴንክ ዩ። እና እነዚህ ተማሪዎች ጋራ የዶክተር ኤደንን መጽሐፍ ክላስ ውስጥ ይጠናል እና ኤዶም ጌታቸው የምትባል ማነች ብዬ አሰብኩ ማለት ነው። አንድ ሰው አሰብኩኝ ሌላ። ምክንያቱም በዚህ ነገር ላይ የማገኛቸው ብዙ ኢትዮጵያውያን የሉም። በዚህ እንትን ላይ በዚህ የማያቸው ኢትዮጵያውያን የሉም። ኤዶም ፖለቲካል ሳይንቲስት ናት። ሪሰርች ኤሪያዋ በተለይ የፖለቲካል ቶውት፣ የብላክ ፖለቲካል ቶውት፣ ፓን አፍሪካኒዝም፣ ፖስት ኮሎኒያሊዝም እንዳለ ያለውን ኤምፓየር፣ ሬስ እንደዚሁ ደግሞ ኢንዲጂነስ በሆኑ ነገሮች ላይ የካሪቢያንን ሁሉ ጨምሮ በዛ ላይ ትልቅ ምርምር የምታደርግ ቲዮሪስት ናት። ስለዚህ እጅግ አሁንም ልናመሰግናት የሚገባ ነውና እንደዚህ አይነት ተጽዕኖ የሚፈጥሩ ልጆችን ማምጣት ይኖርብናልና ዛሬ ጋበዝኳቸው እዚህ ጋር ያሉት ከኔ ጋር ያሉት ቺዲ፣ ሄለን፣ አማርቴ ሌሎችም ብዙዎች አሉ ወደፊትም መተውም ያውና ተራርቀናል። ትንሽ ኢትዮጵያ ከአፍሪካ ጋር ያለን ነገር አንዳንድ ነገር የተራራቀ ነው። ስለዚህ እሱን እንዴት አድርገን ልናመጣው እንችላለን? እንዴት ልናቀርብ እንችላለን? አሁን ኢትዮጵያ የምናቀውኛ ድሮ ምንድነው ናይጄሪያ እግር ኳስ፣ ሳከር፣ ፉትቦል በቃ ናይጄሪያ፣ ጋና፣ ካሜሩን እነዚህ ነው የምናቀው። ከዛ ውጪ ስለ ኳሜ ንክሩማ፣ ጁሊየስ ኔሬሬ ወይም ደግሞ ጆሞ ኬንያታ ሌሎችን ሁሉ ወደ ራሳችን አምጥተን ማየት ይኖርብናልና የፓን አፍሪካኒዝም እንቅስቃሴ ትልቁ ነገር ነውና ዛሬም ወደፊትም ዩናይትድ ስቴትስ ኦፍ አፍሪካ የማይቀር ህልም ስለሆነ ይሄ እንደሚሳካ ደግሞ ኢትዮጵያ መብራት እንደምትሆን ይሄንን ተስፋ እናደርጋለን። እንደገና አሁንም እነሱን ዌልካም እላለሁኝ። ቺዲ፣ አማርቴ፣ ሄለን እና ሌሎችም ዛሬ ተጋበዙት በጠቅላላ እናመሰግናለን ስለመጣችሁ። እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልን። ሁላችንንም በበረከት በረድኤት ይጎብኝልን። በነገራችን ላይ ዶክተር ኤዶም የጻፈችው መጽሐፍ አለ። ቅድም ሊቀ ብርሃናት መምህር ነህሚያ ሲያስተዋውቁ የነበረው መጽሐፍ አለ። ወርልድ ሜኪንግ አፍተር ኢምፓየር the rise and the fall of self determination የሚል መጽሐፍ አለ። በጣም ኢምፖርታንት መጽሐፍ ነው። ለኛ እንደ ጊፍት ማድረግ አምጥታለች። እኔ እንዲመጣ የፈለኩበትም አለ። በጣም ትንሽ መጽሐፎች አሉ። 25 ብር ነው። ለልጆቻችሁም ለራሳችሁም ማን በምትፈልጉ ትገዛላችሁ። በዚህ ጉዳይ ላይ እኔ የተሻለ መጽሐፍ ያየሁት የሐረጎት ስዩም የሚባሉ የጻፉት እሳቸው በዚህ ውስጥ ስለነበሩ በዚህ ስራ ላይም ስለነበሩ ያንን ነው። ስለዚህ እኛ በዚህ ያለነው እነዛን መጽሐፎች ወስደን ለራሳችን እንድንጠቀም ይሄን እንድንመለከት ነው። በሁሉም ነገር ላይ እግዚአብሔር አምላካችን ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሁን። ትላንትና ማዶዋ ተከብሮ ነበረ። ለናጼ ምኒልክ፣ ለነጣይቱ፣ ለናባልቻ አባነፍሶ ምስጋናችን ጨብጨባችን ከፍ ያለ ነው የሚሆነው። በደንብ ነው የምናመሰግነው። እግዚአብሔር ስሙ የተመሰገነ ይሁን። ኢትዮጵያ ሀገራችን፣ አፍሪካ አህጉራችን ወደፊት እንደምትሄድ እናምናለን። ዓለም ሁሉ ወደፊት አይኑ ሁሉ ያለው አፍሪካ ላይ ነው። የአፍሪካ ልጆች መነሳት አለባቸው። ዕውቀታችንን ሁሉ ያስተሳሰባችንን ሁሉ መቀየር ይኖርብናል። መቀየር ያለበት ነገር አለ። ኢፒስቲሞሎጂካል ዲኮሎናይዜሽን መጀመሪያ ማይንድ ሴታችንን ዲኮሎናይዝድ ማድረግ ያለብን። ሀብት አፍሪካ ውስጥ ነው። ንብረት አፍሪካ ውስጥ ነው። ማዕድን አፍሪካ ውስጥ ነው። ሁሉ ነገር አፍሪካ ውስጥ አለ። የተበላሸው ነገር የአፍሪካ መሪዎች ኮራፕሽን ነው አንዱ ትልቁ፣ ሚስ ማኔጅመንት ነው አንዱ ትልቁ። ይሄንን አስተሳሰብ ለውጦ የአፍሪካ ልጆች ከፍ የሚሉበት በተራራው ላይ የሚታዩበት ከማንም የማያንሱበት ኢትዮጵያ ሀገራችንን መብራት ሆና ብርሃን ሆና ለዓለም የምታበራበትን ዘመን እንዲያመጣልን የእግዚአብሔር ፍቃድ ይሁንልን። ምስጋናው የእግዚአብሔር ነው። እልልታው የእግዚአብሔር ነው። ስሙ ለዘላለም የተመሰገነ ይሁን። ሁላችንም ለጸሎት እንነሳ። በዚሁ ነው የምንጨርሰው። አቡነ ዘበሰማያት ይትቀደስ ስምከ ትምጻእ መንግሥትከ ከማሁ በምድር ሲሳየነ ዘለለዕለትነ ሀበነ ኅድግ ለነ አበሳነ ጌጋየነ ወላድነነ ኩሉ እስመ ዚአከ ይእቲ መንግሥተ ኃይሉ ስብሐት ለዓለመ ዓለም በሰላም ቅዱስ ገብርኤል መልአኩ እግዝእትየ ማርያም ሰላም ለኪ ድንግል ወለድናኪ ድንግል ወሥጋኪ እምእግዚአብሔር ሰላም ለኪ ቡሩክት አንቲ እምአንስቶ ፍሬ ከርሥኪ ተፈሥሒ ፍሥሕት ወምልዕተ ጸጋ እግዚአብሔር ምስሌኪ ሰአሊ ወጸልዪ ለነ ምሕረተ በፍቅሩ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ከመ ይስረይ ለነ ኃጣውኢነ ተማጸነው ያለ እግዚአብሔር አብይ። የምርጫውን ማስታወቂያ እንደገና እንድትሰሙ ትፈልጋለሁ። ይደገምና ሊቀ ብርሃናት መምህር ነህሚያ አንድ ጊዜ አሰማልኝ።
እሁድ መጋቢት 8 ማርች 17 2024 አጠቃላይ የአባላት ስብሰባ ከቅዳሴ በኋላ የሚደረግ በመሆኑ በማክበር እናሳውቃለን። የዚህ ስብሰባ የአስተዳደር ቦርድ አባላት የሚመረጥበትም ቀን ነው ያለት። ስለዚህ የስብሰባ የጥሪ ደብዳቤ እና የውክልና ቅጽ ወይም ፕሮክሲ የሚባለውን ዛሬ ከቅዳሴ በኋላ ይሰጣሉ የምርጫ ኮሚቴዎቹ። ይሄንን እንዲደርሳችሁ ደግሞ ይሄንን ተገኝታችሁ መውሰድ የማትችሉ ደግሞ በፖስታ ይላክላችኋል ነው መልእክቱ። በደንብ ቅድም ግልጽ አይደለም የሚል ነገር ስለሰማን ከዚህ ይሄንን እንድታውቁት ነው። ዛሬ ስትወጡ የፕሮክሲና የመምረጫ ቅጹን መውሰድ ትችላላችሁ ስትወጡ ነው። እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልኝ መምህር።
እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልኝ ሊቀ ብርሃናት። ሁላችንንም በጸጋ በረድኤት ተጠብቀን ወደዚህ ቀረብ ብለን ካህናቱ የመጨረሻውን ጸሎት እናደርጋለን። የፍቅር ባለቤት የሰላም ንጉስ ሰላማዊ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ሆይ ሰላምህን ስጠን፣ ሰላምህን አጽናልን። ኃጢአታችን ሁሉ ይቅር ብለህ በሰላም ወደ ቤታችን ገባ ዘንድ የበቃን አድርገን።
አርስቲክሙ ቅድመ እግዚአብሔር አምላክነ በእደ ገብሮካ አህን ከመ ይባርከነ
አቤቱ ሕዝብህን አድን ርስትህንም ባ አቤቱ ሕዝብህን አድን ርስትህንም ባ አቤቱ ሕዝብህን አድን ርስትህንም ባ ለዘላለሙ ጠብቃቸው ከፍ ከፍም አድርጋቸው በአንድ ልጅ በጌታችን በአምላካችን በመድኃኒታችን በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ቤዛም የሆንካት ቅድስት ቤተ ክርስቲያንህን ጠብቃት። ለነገሥታትና ለመኳንን ቅዱስ ለሆነ ሕዝብና ወገን ማደሪያ ትሆን ዘንድ የጠራሃት ዛሬ በዚች ቀን መጥታችሁ ተሰብስባችሁ የጸለያችሁ የቀደሳችሁ የጌታችን የአምላካችን የመድኃኒታችን የኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ቅዱስ ሥጋውን የበላችሁ ክቡር ደሙን የጠጣችሁ በማወቅ ወይም ባለማወቅ የሰራችሁትን ኃጢአት ይቅር ይበላችሁ። ሥጋ መለኮት ስለሚባል ሥጋዊ ሕግና የሥርዓት ደም ስለሚሆን ደሙ የአሸናፊ እግዚአብሔር ልጅ በድንጋሌ ሥጋ በድንጋሌ ሕሊና እትምት የምትሆን የማርያም ልጅ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ባለፈው ይቅር ይበላችሁ በመጣው የሚጠብቃችሁ አባቶች ካህናት በዚህ ያላችሁ ሁላችሁ ለመንግሥተ ሰማያት የበቃን የተዘጋጀን ያደርገን ዘንድ 12 ጊዜ እግዚኦ መሐረነ ክርስቶስ ከማሁ በእንተ እግዝእትነ ማርያም መሐረነ ክርስቶስ በሐልዮ በነቢብ በገቢር የማይሰራ ኃጢአት እግዚአብሔር ይፍታ። እግዚአብሔር ያሃሉ ምስለ
ስርየት የኮነነ ዘመን ጦነ ሥጋ ከበደም መከራ ማሰከረት ነግዲ ሁሉ ኃይለ ጸላይ በረከተ ቅድስት እንተምሪት ክራያን ሴፍ ክራያን ሴፍ ሁሉ
ነሳይለ ወይወተ
ከብረ በኃይለ መስቀሉ ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ያከ እግዚኦ
ልዑል እግዚአብሔር ይባርካችሁ ፊቱንም ያብራላችሁ። ልዑል እግዚአብሔር ይባርካችሁ ፊቱንም ያብራላችሁ። ልዑል እግዚአብሔር ይባርካችሁ ፊቱንም ያብራላችሁ። እንቅፋት ሳይመታ ሾክ ሳይወጋ የሰላም አምላክ በሰላም ወደ ቤት ያግባችሁ። ሽማግሌዎች፣ እናቶች የዛሬ 15 ቀን የነገርኳችሁ ዛሬ ነው የሚሆነው። ደጀ ሰላም ከኛ ጋራ ትገቡና ደጀ ሰላም አብረን ጸበል ጸዲቅ እንቃመሳለን። በእድሜ ገፋ ያላችሁ ሽማግሌዎች፣ እናቶች ደጀ ሰላም አብረን እንገባለን። ዶክተር ኤዶም ጋራ የኛ ክላስሜቶች our guest from Howard, we have a little time to converse with Dr. Edom. It's in the hall. Yeah. Thank you so much. የተባረከ ጊዜ ይሆንልን።
ነሳይነ ወሕይወተ ረከብነ ጸጋ ነሳይነ ወሕይወተ ረከብነ በኃይለ መስቀሉ ለኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ
በኃይለ መስቀሉ ኪያከ እግዚኦ ነአኩት ወንሴብሐከ እግዚአብሔር